what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Well, greetings occupiers. I'm David Sierralupe, and we are back with Occupy TV, an ongoing discussion about the issues surrounding the Occupy movement, what caused it to come forward, and what's going to propel it into the future. It's been a 5-month conversation going on so far. This is episode 39, and today we're going to talk about the economy. I have with me Benjamin Crandall. He's the executive director of the Common Goods Network and the co-creator of the Kindista software, gift economy software for the internet. Thank you for joining us today, Benjamin.
Thank you, David.
All right, we're glad to have you. And so right now, the reason we're sitting here and the reason why people are protesting in the streets is because our economy seems to have run into some problems. It's not working for as many of us as we'd like it to work for. It's not it's not helping us to achieve the dreams that we all would like to achieve. And I want to start talking with a variety of people about how we're going to change that, how we're going to make it start working for us. And you have a lot of good ideas along those lines. And,
thank you.
Maybe if you can just give us let's start, I guess, with your, do you want to start with your software, the Kindista software? Or?
I think let's leave that towards the end, I think,
Okay.
because it would be helpful for people of understanding what gift economy is.
Well, maybe you could get us started. Tell us, get us started, some level of understanding what gift economy means.
Yeah, so actually gift economy is not a new concept. It's actually a very ancient concept. Before there was money, in the ancient world, almost everything was done through gift. So you knew who your community was, who your tribe was, and you relied on your tribe to support your needs, and everybody relied on each other. Basically, your currency was your reputation, and your reputation of generosity. That worked really well in a small community because everybody knew each other. But society got really large and complex, and so things like money were created to help facilitate economic interactions amongst people that didn't know each other and didn't know each other's reputation. Right.
Yeah.
So the basis of all economics really is gift economy, and economics just means a system of meeting people's needs, of distribution of resources within a society. That's all an economy is. And so that doesn't necessarily imply or require money per se for that to happen.
So the gift economy has been with us all along. The gift economy goes back to the misty dim past. But the dollar-based economy, the monetary economy, is really the new kid in the block.
Yeah. And people don't think about it that way, but it is a fairly new phenomenon. And particularly the kind of money-based system that we have right now that is backed by interest-bearing debt, and that's where a lot of our problems today are coming from, is this interest-bearing debt. So you have major debt bubbles that are popping all over the place. And that really if you want to look at money in the terms of debt, like that's how money is created in our society. If I take out a loan from a bank, if I take a $100,000 loan for a house or something like that from the bank is literally creating $100,000 out of thin air that I have to pay back to it.
So now that's something I heard about that recently. And how is that different from counterfeiting?
Well, money is just a social contract, okay, and just the same way that gift is a form of social contract too. So, I mean, whether you call it counterfeiting or not, like it would be counterfeiting if our society didn't allow for it. But basically, all money is created that way. So it's not like if you were to say that it's counterfeit, then you would say that all money is counterfeit because every dollar that's in circulation is backed by debt. The problem with that is that each of those dollars has to pay back not only what was borrowed, but the interest, and
Right.
no money is being created for the interest. So it's a huge game of musical chairs where there's never enough chairs for everybody, and a tiny percentage of the population owns most of the chairs. So everybody's scrambling for these chairs, and there's never enough to pay everything back with the interest.
So the pile of debt keeps getting bigger.
That's
but,
right.
But the actual cash to pay off that debt is being created out of that pile, so it can't make the pile go away.
It doesn't. Well, the only thing that makes the pile go away, there's two things that make the pile go away. One is paying back debt. So when you pay off your mortgage, it goes away, so to speak. But you're also paying off interest too along the way, which is decreasing the amount of money for other people to pay off their debts. And other ways, if you default on a loan, when loans get defaulted on, then the money for that goes away, and banks go bankrupt because of that.
Does that mean that defaulting on loans is, in one respect, a good thing? That it's going to solve problems?
To an extent, yeah. I think that. Well, to an extent, it's inevitable. I mean, the problem right now is that there's way more debt that can never be paid back. And that's what's stopping the whole global economy in its tracks right now. It just can't keep growing. It reached a point at which you couldn't. There's another aspect of where money comes from that's important to keep in mind here, is that banks only lend out money for things that they can get paid back plus the interest. So, for example, I can't go get a loan to protect a forest, right? Because I'm not going to make any money to pay back that loan or to pay the interest on the loan. So anything, in other words, things that tend to be socially constructive are hard to get loans for. And you may have noticed that. You know, those of us that are trying to do things to protect the commons have a hard time getting money for that. Whereas anything that you are monetizing the commons, taking our collective goods and turning them into private goods, there's lots of money involved in that. Right. So money is very good at depleting our commons, but it's not very good at protecting our commons.
Now you said that there's two ways to look at the way money comes into circulation. So one was the debt, and you talked about getting money for the commons, but that wasn't it. I mean, so we have debt is one way that money comes into the...
No, that is the way that the money comes into circulation.
It's through debt.
It's the only way that
money comes.
Okay, all right.
Money
comes
now, what about like the gold standard and all that? Was that?
Yeah, so gold isn't has been in society another form of money, and like cash or dollars, gold is a social contract. It's something that we, as a society, have decided is valuable, and that's the only thing that makes it valuable. Just like money, the only thing that makes money valuable is that we, as a society, has decided that has value. So the difference between gold and fiat money is that gold can't be printed, obviously.
Can't be manufactured.
It has to come from the ground, basically. And obviously, there's environmental consequences that come from mining gold, and other indigenous problems, and all kinds of things that disrupt the social structure with that.
But those are separate from just its intrinsic value. So the gold, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on gold, but just as a way for me to understand how we assign value to things. You know, gold has an intrinsic value. There's a limited amount of gold, and so because of that, you can place a value on it.
It's important that you say there's a limited supply of it. Like that, our current mode of thinking around economics is very much based around this limited supply of things. And so things have value because they're of limited supply. So in other words, water is not valuable, so we can pollute it because it's all over the place.
Right.
But gold, because it's of limited supply, has value. And that's a social construct. There's no reason that it has to be that way. But it is true that there is less gold. The problem with using a money that is in short supply, whether it's gold or even interest-backed money or debt-backed money, the problem with that is that it creates a sense of scarcity, right? there's a mentality of the more for you is less for me. If there's a limited pile, the more I give you, the less I have for myself.
Right.
Right. And so that creates a sense where everybody is ultimately in competition with everybody else in society, and really discourages cooperation through society.
It sounds to me like that sense, and I wanna explore this a little bit further, but it sounds to me like the sense that anything I give to you is less for me is going to work against the concept of the gift economy, as my limited understanding allows. But now money, on the other hand, seems limitless. The way, if truly we're creating it every time somebody buys a car or a house, we're creating more money, then it's like there's this little genie that's, saying, that new Ford truck means $25,000 of new dollar bills is just, appeared out of nowhere. Is that the case?
It is, in an extent, it is the case, but remember that all that money has to be paid back at interest. And so, and once again, we have this musical chairs problem where everybody's scrambling for these chairs to pay them back, or for the dollars to pay back the debt, because banks won't keep lending you money if you don't pay it back. And so everybody's in that same situation. Even international governments are in the same situation, where everybody's trying to pay back the debt and trying to avoid defaulting, because that will make it harder to borrow money in the future. When you default, it makes it hard to borrow money in the future.
Right, which then your reputation actually does come into play, which works in concert with the gift economy.
Yeah, reputation is very embedded in monetary economy too. We have credit ratings for everything, and even nations have credit scores, AAA rated bonds and whatnot.
Of course, the trouble with our economy right now is that those reputations may have been bought and sold, so that by the fictional currency,
and credit rating agencies and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thing I'm trying to grasp though is when I buy that Ford truck, and $25,000 I think is probably low right now, but when I buy that Ford truck and that $25,000 appears and is sort of on my back now, and eventually I pay that off. I pay it off because all along the way, each time I was making that car payment, that was coming from debt that somebody else took on.
Sure. But remember, each time you pay back a car payment, you're decreasing the amount of money that exists in society.
Because I'm decreasing the amount of debt.
That you're decreasing the amount of debt that is owed for that Ford truck. Yeah. So paying back debt actually decreases the pile.
Is that a good thing? Because I guess you create scarcity, so you increase the value of that dollar.
Well, scarcity is embedded in monetary economics, especially when you have interest-bearing debt. That money is backed by interest-bearing debt. So really, in a sense, there's scarcity either way, because there's never enough money to pay back everything, and everybody's fighting for a limited supply relative to the amount of debt plus interest that is owed.
Okay.
So.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to get my head around it. I thought I understood economics, but the more I look at it, the more I realize I don't.
Yeah, well, this book here, Sacred Economics, is just a really phenomenal book at understanding. This guy, Charles Eisenstein, was in Eugene and has been touring all over the place to promote some of the ideas in here. And it's really important for understanding some of the things we're talking about. He puts it in very simple language, all the things that we're talking about. So I highly recommend people check this book out.
So, Sacred Economics, Money, Gift, and Society in the Age of Transition.
Yeah, and Charles Eisenstein is the author. Just a really brilliant thinker. I think this is one of the most important books of our generation.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. And clearly a lot of other people agree with you, because the concept of the gift economy right now is gaining steam right now. There's a lot of people who are buying into it. And I've been trying to get a grip on the concept of what money means, but really we're going to spend more of our time away from money in this
Hopefully.
conversation.
Yeah, hopefully, yes.
So maybe I'll get away from that now. So let's start hitting into the gift economy. What's different about it?
Okay, so it's important also, what's different about, I have this conversation with people all the time about what gift economy is, and there's a couple things that they inevitably say, oh, so that's the same as barter, or oh, that's the same as time banking, or something like that. And it's very fundamentally different than those kind of things. And so if we talk about the difference, that helps people understand a little bit, but then we can talk about specifically what it is that is very different.
Yeah.
So for example, for bartering, for a transaction to happen in barter, I have to have something that you want, and you have to have something that I want.
Right.
And then we have to agree on a value between the two of those for any exchange to happen. Right? So that's very challenging to find everybody that has exactly what you want, and for them to need what you have. Right? It's a challenging situation. And it's even more challenging when a lot of what is needed in society right now is not things that we have as individuals. For example, if I want to protect an old growth forest by sitting up in a tree, like I have nothing to barter in that context, right? And if I want to take a dilapidated parking lot and turn it into a community garden or park, I have nothing that I can barter there. If I want to do gang remediation I have nothing to barter. I'm creating an immense social value in all of these things, but I don't have anything specifically that I can barter. And so neither a time bank or barter really facilitate those kind of economic interactions.
So both of those, the time bank and the barter, then are more in common. They have more in common with the fiat economy.
In some ways, yeah. In some ways, they have some of the same limitations that fiat money has. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple of things I want to bring up that are kind of related to this. One is one aspect of what gift economy that is already happening in our society is nonprofits. So most nonprofits operate on a gift economy. Even though they take money as gift from people, they do what they're doing basically because it's what they want to be doing in the world, and they are only able to maintain what they're doing out of the generosity of other people. They're not charging people specifically for what they're doing, right? So that's gift mentality of doing what you're here to do for the world, and then requesting support for that from your community. That's fundamentally gift economy. And so the whole nonprofit sector already operates on gift economy.
Wow. Okay. But they still work within our standard economy.
They're still taking money as benefit. And there's in transition there will be a lot. Money will still have a purpose, I think, in transition for some time. I don't know how long that time will be, but for some time to come.
So now that's an important point you just made. And I noted that was part of the subtitle of Charles Eisenstein's book, is the time of transition. And the image that you just created in my head was that we're transitioning away from money. That the goal will be that somewhere off in the future, we will have a society that is delivering all of these goods and services without money.
Yep, more and more. That's true. Yeah.
And so that is the goal of pursuing the gift economy, is to step away from money.
That's part of it. I think a big part of the goal for gift economy is reclaiming our sense of community. Regaining our sense of interconnectedness with the people around us, like bridging the gap of separation that we experience between each other. So I think it has some deep fundamental spiritual aspects to it too, which are actually more of the goal than just to get away from money. It's for us to bridge our gap of thinking that we're separate from the world around us.
So it sounds to me like I've really got to get off of my hang-up about money, and because that's not the key element here.
So what's your hang-up? What do you mean by your hang-up?
Well, I keep bringing this back to money, and my impression is that the gift economy isn't about money, and maybe I will understand it better if I can.
Yeah, I mean, money can, as I said, money can play a role. It does play a role for nonprofits today, even though they're operating under a gift economy. So right now we have a lot of needs as individuals or as businesses in our society that we can only get met through money, because the gift economy is relatively small compared to the monetary economy.
Right.
Or at least a lot of our daily needs, it's hard to get met through gift at the moment.
Right.
So a lot of what gift economy, and this comes back to the software that I'm building, the Candista software that I'm building with my partner Eamon Walker. And the purpose of that is, so I mentioned in the beginning that gift economy happened naturally in primitive societies, and it happened through reputation. So you knew who was contributing to your community, and you knew what everybody needed, what the individuals in your community needed, and what everybody had to offer. So you knew who to go to for certain things, you know, and you knew who was contributing. And so, so basically, the software that we're creating, we're building, and we're going to be launching in the next couple of weeks, is for that. So it allows for people to list what they have to offer, and things that you have to offer, it's much probably broader than people might think. It can be skills that you have, you know, the labor that you're willing to give, things that you're willing to teach. It could be tools that you have that you only use every once in a while, so tool sharing, or you know, like a kayak or something like that that you would lend somebody. It could be, you know, it could be literally things that you're giving away, you know, giving away food. But basically anything that is of benefit for other people. It could be even, as I was saying earlier, more social commons benefits, so things like protecting forests or whatnot. So anything that you're doing that's that feels like a gift, that's an important part of gift economy, that I'm giving based on what it is that I want to create in the world, not out of any obligation, specific obligation. I mean, there's an overall obligation that we have as being human beings and contributing to our world, but not, in other words, if I'm giving something, I'm not obligated to give it to any one specific person. Like if you come to me for what I have, there might be reasons that I feel like I don't want to give it to you, and that's perfectly legitimate within a gift economy. No one's compelled to give just because they have, but the software that we're creating creates a reputation is created through gifts that I give. So when I give, if people in my community acknowledge each of those gifts, that would show up on my profile in the software. And so when I need something from my community, people can look at my profile and see what I'm contributing, and then they can decide to support me based on that.
So it's not a straight quid pro quo.
That's very important. Yeah, that is what differentiates it from a lot of these other things that we're talking about, time banking and barter and all that. I mean, think about time banking. I've heard stories of challenges people have with time banking. For example, maybe I need my gutters cleaned, and you know, I don't really have time to do it right now, so I have somebody in the time bank do it, and it takes them all day. And I've done it before, and it only takes me an hour. So in a time banking situation, I'm really frustrated because now I have to work for somebody else all day for something that I could have done in an hour myself. But in a gift economy, I'm like, wow, this person spent all day cleaning my gutters. Like, that's really awesome. They must have done a really good job, or it must have been really challenging for them. So I have a lot more compassion for that person. And at the same time, I'm not harmed by them working more for me. Like, in other words, there's not that mentality of the more for you is less for me.
So they have increased their reputation.
Yes.
And by doing this work, they have added value to themselves.
And to our community.
And into the community. Now, what about the person who was a slacker and he just comes in and he, you know, just... he gets up on that ladder eventually, you know, and he just kind of dawdles all day long, and you know, 8 hours are done, and he's taken 8 hours to do a 1 hour job. Does that person, they've done the job, they've created value for you who needed your gutters cleaned, and so your needs are met. How does their reputation reflect?
So what their reputation reflects is that they clean my gutters.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all. Yeah.
If they clean my gutters, which they did, and they I don't care if they took all day. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
So
good.
they clean their gutter. They clean my gutters, and I get to thank them for that. And yeah.
Now, does somebody else who comes in, because I know that I'm having conceptual difficulties crossing this barrier. So somebody else who comes in and he can do it in an hour.
Yeah.
Does is his reputation more enhanced by that?
No, but he gets 7 more hours of free time to do other things.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
It's on his. If he doesn't want to be up on my roof all day, then he'll get it done quickly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So in essence, you're almost doing it for yourself. It almost sounds like.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. It's like, and it's been a challenge for me. Like this is a struggle, has been a struggle over the last year and a half from my own personal transition to gift economy. I had a story in my mind that like I was doing a lot more for the world than I was receiving back in terms of all the effort that I'm doing, because I'm not getting paid for my work, and it's a tremendous amount of work that me and my partner are doing to build this software.
And I can sympathize. I spent a lot of time lining up guests.
And so I had this story that like I was giving a lot more than I was receiving. And then I realized at a more fundamental level, like, what does it mean for me to be human on this planet? Like, a big part of it is I have certain things that I'm here to offer the world, and I'm doing them. And that's like the most important thing, that's way more valuable to me than anything I could be receiving, is the fact that I'm able to give what I'm here to give. And how many people do I know? I have this conversation all the time with people, like, well, what would you really like to give the world? And they say, oh, this and this and this, but I don't know how to make money at it. Like, I have that conversation constantly with people. People have these things they know they want to be giving the world, and they don't know how to make money at it. And like, there's a serious depression and like anxiety comes out of that experience. And so the point is, like, you give what you're here to give, and that in itself is a tremendous gift. On top of it, yes, we need our community to support us and with food and shelter and clothing and healthcare and all the other things. But the real transition to gift economy is really valuing and appreciating the gifts that we're giving as individuals ourselves.
As we've been speaking, I've been trying to remember, something I saw on Facebook, maybe a year or so ago that was going around. The concept of the commons being valued differently, I guess. And it seemed to me that was the first time I really started to hear about the gift economy. So I think they were coming as part of the same message. But we have all these resources. We have the water flowing down the Mackenzie that we drink, and all the gold, and all of these variety of resources that we need money in order to interact with, because somebody has fenced them off and put value on them.
Yes, yeah.
And my impression, and the food that we eat, the energy that keeps us warm at night, or lets us watch TV or whatever. All those things, all those resources are monetized. But my impression is, so in the gift economy, I'm having a blast these days being involved with this Occupy Media project. But I can't, I'm not making any money on it, but I still have to do my work, rebuilding houses. But in which I also enjoy. But in the gift economy world, I could pursue the thing that gives me the greatest amount of joy and meaning in my life. And if I'm doing it in concert with the values of the community, and I'm producing value for the community, then those other things will be coming back to me. And will that be reliable, I guess, is the next question. I will be able to say, a month from now, my family will still be eating because I'm doing these things.
It's very much about still creating relationships. So you would basically, you would look, for example, if you were to use our software when we launch it, you would look for who's offering food. For example, you'd be able to look at a whole list of people that are offering food within our communities, farmers and local master gardeners and that kind of thing. And you would be able to form relationships with some of them. Maybe not all of them care about the work that you're doing, but some of them will see value in what you're doing, and you form relationships. So your security is in the relationships you form with other real people. But the software allows you to make those connections and to find who has what you need. So you would find people that really value the work that you're doing, and they would support you.
Okay.
They're not your family.
They're not supporting me specifically. They're not saying I need you to account for your time this week, and I'm going to give you X amount of broccoli.
Well, yes and no. They might want to continue to keep tabs on you and look at your profile and see if if you're not contributing in some way. They might say, "Hey, it doesn't look like you're contributing as much. What's going on?" But it's a personal relationship,
right?
And so it's up to them if they keep contributing to you. And most people probably aren't going to rely on one person for all of their food, or it's a community effort, and so there would be a handful of people, and it's up to each of us to make sure we're still contributing value to our community.
Okay. All right. How about how do we keep all the bells and whistles going? That are going to need more upfront investment, I guess. Sports franchises and such. I love the Lakers. They're worth, I guess I heard $1 billion. I guess dollars is no longer a concern, but
in transition it will be.
It will be, yeah. Okay, so at the other side of this thing, though, the motion picture that today is going to cost $200 million to make, and it's going to rely on flying people across the globe to get this shot here, and it's going to rely on all these computers that we're going to need to do all the special effects, as well as it's going to require this set of celebrities who are accustomed to getting top dollar for being the celebrity to build this whole movie around, or celebrity athletes or whatever. I can understand that in this future economy, those celebrities will be doing this because they love what they're doing.
There's plenty of actors that would love to be working, and they're probably very talented, but they can't get the jobs. Yeah.
So the top paid celebrities are no longer. That dynamic is gone in this new system.
No, people. If people do phenomenal work and have phenomenal contributions to society, lots of people are going to want to give them gifts out of appreciation. Okay. So there is still some degree of, the difference is wealth in a gift economy is who gives the most. So, or who gives in such a way that the most people will value what they're giving. Right. So that's a wealthy person in our society is who has the most, but in a gift economy, it's who gives the most. And so if I create a movie that really touches millions of people, then lots of people are going to want to give me things.
So the wealth is the movie that touches a lot of people.
Yeah, and then all of that, my access to resources based on people wanting to give to me based on what I'm giving.
Now, is there an embarrassment of resources in this?
There's an embarrassment to hoarding resources for sure. Like if it's clear that you have lots of resources and you're not contributing to your community and like keeping the flow going, that is definitely an embarrassment.
Yeah, and then that's that person who made this amazing movie and everybody is showering them with gifts. Should they be keeping those gifts, or should they be taking what they need and moving the rest on?
Yeah, and maybe they'll be showered with gifts that are more than they can actually use, and so
that was my expectation. Yeah,
if it's more than they can use, then they wouldn't even accept it. Like, thank you, give that to somebody else. I appreciate your sentiment. I appreciate your appreciation.
Okay. So the wealthy. Man, there's so many concepts.
There are.
Yeah. So the wealthy in this situation are the people who have the most to give.
Yes.
And not the people who have the most.
Yes. No, not who have the most to give, who are giving the most.
Who are giving the most.
Yes.
Yeah, so that could also be a function of things flowing through them.
Yes, absolutely, very much so.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nexuses of flow. Yeah, people who are nexuses of flow would be considered very wealthy.
And those people become a nexus of flow because of the strength of their reputation.
Yeah, and through what they're contributing.
Yeah. Now, okay, let's. It seemed to me that you drew a distinction between their reputation and what they're contributing. So maybe could we explore that difference?
Well, yeah, the reputation comes from what they're giving. So that's all I meant by that. It's the reputation. The reputation is a function of what they're giving. So it's what they're giving is the important thing, and the reputation comes from that.
Okay. Now, in the transitional state, a lot of this I can see being rocky, and I don't know if I want to explore that too much.
Yes, I think we do. I think
we do want to explore that.
Absolutely, people
state?
have fears around that,
yeah.
and so that's important to address.
All right, then let's talk about that. Then let's talk. How do we use a lot of the technology today, which is so rooted in money, during this transitional state?
I would like just for a moment to talk about what that transition looks like and
let's
why.
do it.
And we have some assumptions about like how long this transition would take, or I would like to look a little bit at excess capacity in our society.
Sure.
So right now in our country, what they call the labor participation rate is around 63.5–64%. So
I'll need that.
So what that means is that of adults in our society, only 63–64% have monetarily paying jobs. In other words, more than a third of the population has no job which they receive any kind of income.
And these are adults, not counting children.
This is adults, yeah. And then of them, a substantial portion are in part-time jobs, so they have lots of excess time on their hands. So we have a third of the population that has basically all the time on their hands that they could be contributing gift, for example. Then we have a lot of people that have working part-time jobs that have some time on their hand that they could be contributing gift. And then if you think about all the jobs that we have that only support a monetary economy, or an economy of competition versus cooperation. So let's look at all of the lawyers, let's look at all of the accountants, let's look at all of the clerks at stores, let's look at all of the military, let's look at all the police, there's all the government bureaucrats. And if you take all those people that really aren't contributing to a society of cooperation necessarily, those jobs wouldn't even be necessary in a gift economy. So it's like the amount of work that we actually have to do to meet everybody's needs really requires a very small percentage of our population, right? So there's a ton of excess capacity in terms of skills and labor that could be fostering this gift economy. So a lot of people are going to be working in some of both. If they have a part-time job, they'll work some for money and some for gift reputation. Some people will be working mostly for gift reputation. So what we're seeing in Europe right now with the debt bubble collapsing, it's also happening in China, it's happening here even at a slower pace, but basically debt trickles up from individuals to institutions to government. So first you have individual bankruptcies, then you have bank bankruptcies, then you have national debt crises, sovereign debt crises. But above the sovereign level, there's nowhere to go. There's no one to bail out governments. There's the IMF and that kind of thing, but they're getting their money from government, so that's a very limited pool. And so basically when the debt bubble pops, then what you're talking about is huge amounts of money that doesn't get paid back, right? And then on the other side of it, you see people that have, maybe have a lot of student loan debt, for example, and they're getting all their needs met through gifts, or a lot of their needs, they're getting their food and maybe their shelter, maybe their clothing met through gift. Like maybe they have less incentive to pay back all their debt, right? So it's like as I said, it's all a social contract. Money is a social contract, gift is a social contract, and it's what we believe in as society. And so if people believe and trust in their communities to get their needs met, then they have less incentive to buy into the story of money. Money loses its value, and even corporations now have to start working within gift to meet the needs of all of their individuals and to get the supplies they need and everything else. So it's allows for a real bottom-up transformation, because if all the people doing all the work in society, or a substantial amount of them, are relying on gift, well, everybody has to rely on gift then.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. So I keep looking at the Wall Street barons and the huge amount of money that they've created out of thin air, as per our discussion so far, and the idea that there's so much money there that it's become meaningless. that what is the difference between $100 million and $1 billion? How does that impact your life? I don't.
Well, this is an interesting thing, because there's a spiritual element to your question here that you might not be recognizing, which is that in our society we've turned money into God. And I mean that because one of the core aspects of what God represents, is the archetype of creation creator. And in our society, if you have enough money, you can create anything.
Right.
You can create skyscrapers, you can create, airplanes and yachts and all kinds of experiences. You can go all around the world. You can have women and all kinds of things.
But you can't necessarily create happiness.
Very, very true. Very true. It's you can create lots externally, but not internally through money. Money doesn't create anything internally. It only creates external. Gift creates lots internally. You have so much appreciation and gratitude and happiness and connection with other people. So it's very good at creating internal growth and satisfaction. But money is very good at creating externally, so we've externalized our creative capacity through money. And so the more money I have in our society, the more I feel like I'm a creator, like I'm able to manipulate the world to bend to my will, in other words. And they do. I mean, people with lots of money are even able to manipulate the government, right? To create the laws that the whole world operates under. Like that's real creative power that money allows for.
Yeah.
And but gift economy requires us to internalize our power, and so it's not about manipulating the external world, but it's about really coming to our own internal power.
Yeah, yeah. And,
so I just meant that there is a difference between having 100,000 and $100 million, and that my power to create the world that I want. It's very different.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But you and I don't have either of those. I assume you don't have 100,000. I know I don't. But all those people way up above us on the monetary ladder have that, and there's this fountaining, rain of dollars at that level, which to you and me is abstract and meaningless. And one of the things that I've been pondering as I've been trying to figure out where do we go from here financially is, at what point in time do the people who have created all of that meaningless wealth get called to task, I guess. And you started to point it out, is once it gets to the point where I don't need to rely on that debt anymore, and my needs are being met elsewhere, then all of that debt, all of that money created from that debt evaporates, it sounds
becomes
like.
worthless. It's not that it may or may not evaporate, but it starts to become, maybe, I don't mean worth less as in worth nothing, but it becomes worth less. It becomes worth less and less and less to us as a society. And what becomes more and more valuable is the actual contributions that people make. And so it really calls each of us to figure out, what do we want to give? And I would bet that even a lot of these people that have millions and billions of dollars, a lot of them have some sense of emptiness, that they're not really doing everything that they're here on the planet to do. And they're trying to fill that with money and things, but there's a lot of emptiness from people at the top, internal emptiness, that is because they're not really doing what they're here to be doing, whatever that purpose is for them individually, their spiritual purpose.
Right, yeah. which is a problem for the people who have hitched their wagon on the money train, to link two metaphors. But I think we're going to finish this hour with me just barely getting an understanding of where we're going, and I want to make sure that we have time to talk about your software. We've got 13 minutes left, so let me try this one more idea, and then we should focus.
Sure. I can come back and talk about the software after we launch too. So that's
okay,
a possibility.
Okay, but I feel like the excess of value that is aggregating at the top, the excess of wealth that is aggregating at the top, is beginning to make it less meaningful in total, even though we're not experiencing inflation and everything. Fewer and fewer people have access to that wealth.
Absolutely.
And as a result, just like gods, just like you were saying, gods need worshipers, you know, and once a god loses worshipers, the power of that god falls away. Money needs people to transact with that money, and when fewer and fewer people are able to do that, it loses its power. And it seems
it's not even fewer and fewer people, it's fewer and fewer of our transactions. It's like I can, as an individual, the more needs I get met through my community and through a gift, the less value. I don't have to give it up completely for it to be losing value. Just the more I'm giving my energy and my my faith and trust in my community instead of money, like that money loses its power as God.
Right. Yeah. I've been trying to grasp a certain inevitability, I guess, that all of that aggregate wealth at the top is forcing society in general, forcing us into this gift economy concept.
Absolutely.
Because there is nothing else left. I mean, the fiction of wealth is becoming more and more apparent. When a factory gets shut down because it doesn't have, the company doesn't have the ability to pay for them to run the factory is still there.
Absolutely.
It's just the money that's gone. You know.
And people could be using that factory for other purposes.
It still has value. It has value, even though the money that was necessary to make that factory work has gone somewhere else. The inherent value of that factory is still there. If I lose my home because I can't pay the mortgage, the home is still there, you know, but I can't access it anymore. And it seemed to me, I like to look at the, I don't want to go, I like to look at the zombie apocalypse concept. If the zombies come today, you know, and everything falls away, Bill Gates, the fact that he has a $10 billion home, you know, and all these other homes elsewhere, those aren't going to mean anything, you know. If number one, if he's surrounded by zombies, okay, you know, all that wealth doesn't mean anything at all. But you know, you're going to get reduced to the bare essentials. How are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to protect yourself? And how are you going to kill zombies?
Well, this is an important point, which is that money has inherent to it has a mortality. And what I mean by that is the more money I collect, it's gone when I die, right? Or my access to it is gone, or its value to me is gone when I die, right? However, in a gift economy, if I'm creating what I love into the world, that outlasts me. Not only that, but if I give to you and you give to somebody else and that person gives to somebody else, each time I give, that creates more and more value into the world around me. And so my contributions far outlive me. And so gift economy has the essence of immortality embedded in it through what we're giving to the world. Whereas money, like the more I hoard, like it's gone and it becomes it's pointless after I've died.
And all those things you're hoarding that you bought with money that you can't use have no value to you. And no value to anybody else because they're locked in.
Well, I mean, they might be given to somebody else, but it's
after you die.
But is that do I really like for me, like pursuing my life's work is really important and has value, right? And so if I die and my vision hasn't been realized, but is realized after I die, then I feel like I'm fulfilled in that way. Whereas if I collect all these things that just give them to other people after I die, like that, is there any real, do I get any extra satisfaction from that, like personal satisfaction?
You're probably not even thinking of the fact that they're going to somebody else after you die. You're you know, if you're the person who's building up that treasure hoard.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're just thinking, I'm going to die before I get to use all this stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah, I imagine not.
Yeah, so I'm just saying the mentality. Yeah. One has more of the mentality of death and mortality, and one has the mentality of immortality.
Right. Yeah, and I can see that. Yeah, and the web that you create through your gifting, through your expanding value outward from yourself, can't help but live beyond you, and you're part of it. You know, I imagine it diminishes over time, sure, but maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know if that is something I can grasp onto as a central core.
Sure.
I like the idea, and we're kind of winding down, so I like the idea, what I'm understanding right now, given what we've talked about, is the gift economy creates a world wherein I do the things that give value to me, that I'm drawn to.
And to realizing within the world. It's not like nobody's going to support you in a gift economy if you're literally just like doing things for yourself that don't value anybody else.
It will, and that's the other thing that I can see a difference here. In if I'm doing things that just indulge my whims, but maybe I do it with a certain flash and panache, I can make a lot of money because there'll be other people watching me do that, you know, and be self-indulgent and whatnot, and I could, you know, rise to the top. But in the gift economy, that won't happen. You know, you can't have celebrity because you're self-indulgent. You know, I guess, you know, you got the Kardashians and all that, who, it strike me, live a very self-indulgent lifestyle, and they do it well, and they get paid well for it. But in the gift economy, I will be encouraged by the community to find the thing that actually, at the core, is helping me to find my inner value and to express that in a way that benefits the community.
Absolutely.
And so that in an essence might be one of the differences. And then the message I feel like I'm getting is that once I've embraced that concept, that I can express, you know, what is valuable to me, and communicate it outward into the community, that I'm not doing that. I'm not punching the clock. I'm not saying, well, okay, I need to express my inner perfection outward for 40 hours this week, and as a result, I will have the car, I will have the cable TV, I will have prime rib. You know, that's not quite.
I think that the mentality that we shift to is we do the things that we want to for the sake of doing the things that we want to.
But we're encouraged to do the things we want to that benefit others.
Yeah. I mean, and if my life is not benefiting others, then it encourages a real community dialogue around that. And so, you know, there are people that have special needs in society, right? And so I think that they're a big part of our economy. As I've said, all these people that don't have paying jobs right now, a third of the population, and then all the rest of them that are underemployed and whatnot. There's a lot of excess capacity, and I think one way that capacity is going to be used is a lot of helping each other heal emotionally, help each other like move past certain restricted mentalities that we've had in the past, helping people get over drug addictions and over all kinds of other like blocks that we have. And so there's a lot of people that I think that aren't able to contribute positively to society because they don't really know how to. Like they haven't, there's something within them that is a little bit stuck. And so I think that a lot of the transition of the gift economy is a lot of people expressing their gifts of helping each other find their gifts. So helping each other find our gifts is a big part of that transition.
Yeah, so you are definitely describing the transitional period there, where we're helping each other find our gifts, where we are trying to figure out how to release the sickness, I guess, of living in this economy. And also then, I guess, because we are drawn to making our community stronger, then the people who are just not capable of contributing in the ways that we're talking about, the measurable ways that we're talking about, are supported nonetheless. I used to work in group homes for mentally challenged adults. Those people in this economy, this future gift economy that you're talking about, would be supported because it's in the common good.
I mean, we don't want people breaking into each other's houses because they've got problems that they haven't dealt with. So we as a society need to help each person, become more realized and work through their stuff that they have to work through emotionally, spiritually, whatever, physically, and so there's, there'll be a lot of that. And in the cases, I mean, I think that the challenge will be trying to help people not alienate themselves when they're having a hard time making that transition. And so like people that are having a hard time making the transition, that we can continue to hold them as a community and keep finding new ways of reaching out to them. Okay. So I think that will be a challenge.
All right, I'll give you a minute to maybe if you can tie a bow on this for me, or what your last thoughts on it, and then we're gonna go to Alice D. Michelli again.
Well, that's some pressure. I don't know. I think that the real thing is that we want to live in a world where we value each other and we feel valued by each other, and we want to live in a world where we're really able to pursue what it is that we're on this planet to do. And money is preventing that. Money, especially interest, debt-backed money, is preventing that. And I see gift as really an essential aspect of moving forward to a world where we're really a cooperative world where everybody is getting their needs met. And really the sky is the limit. So there is, for example, I know this is right at the end, but in terms of, think about intellectual property. Right now, everybody keeps their intellectual property to themselves. But in the gift economy, the emphasis is on sharing. And so can you just imagine the kinds of things that we'd be able to build technologically and otherwise if we're really sharing?
We are going to have to imagine that next time. You have to come back. I mean, this is just the beginning of a conversation. And I am looking forward to doing this some more.
Good.
But in the meantime, we did just use up our hour, so thanks for being here. Thanks for coming and joining us on Occupy TV. This is Benjamin Crandall with the Kindista software. He's co-creator of Kindista software and the Common Goods Network. I'm David Ciarlupe. Come again next time for Occupy TV.
Thanks, David.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming our mics are muted.
Something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.